Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, anybody have any additions to the agenda tonight? I don't have any. You guys don't have any? Okay. My remarks tonight are pretty short. The new club members, or the new club that's in town, is here. If you are here to speak about that, or if you gentlemen want to speak, you will do that right now in open public comments, non-agenda items, because you are not on the agenda, because we're just here to listen to what everybody has to say, and you guys are here to answer questions if need be, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you are here to talk about the new club, do it now. Seeing
Perfect.
nothing. Seeing nothing. You guys have anything you want to say since you
We just
came?
came to answer questions if anybody had any.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I have a question then.
Okay, shoot.
So what's the purpose? What is it that you guys are doing? It's a clubhouse?
It's clubhouse, yeah. Well, what we do is we do benefits and functions, and for anybody that needs help. We've been in Bradwell for over a year now. Never had a problem. We do benefits for sudden death families. We raise money. We have, a function. Other than that, we're just a bunch of guys that ride motorcycles that grew up together. We're not a motorcycle club. We're not a riding club. Our patches don't say 1% or nothing like that. We're just a bunch of guys that ride motorcycles.
Okay. What's the difference between?
I couldn't answer that because we're not one of them. We're just a bunch of good guys that got together and stick together, and we went to school together. And
So, place to hang out.
just a place to hang out that we can get away from home and hang out with a family. We're all family orientated. We have kids.
Yeah. Okay, because I live right down the street.
Yeah.
So, and I have a bunch of kids, so I just,
We all have kids also. Yeah, young kids.
so I don't need to worry about
No, not at all.
anybody
No.
bullying them or anything like that.
No, nothing like that. We're not like that.
Okay.
Okay, Steve?
Yeah, you probably want to.
Yeah, if you can come up to the mic, that would help. So that way he's not on turning around on us the whole time.
Thank you. Steve Skibnowski, Animal Control Officer. One of the things that I've been challenged with here recently is noise in the community, and I was just wondering what your policy is on the noise that some motorcycles make, others don't. What kind of environment's going to be happening down there in that area, and of course by the school, would be my question.
Okay.
Well, all the motorcycles are registered and inspected in the state of Vermont or New Hampshire, and they go by. You're saying as a pack?
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying they're all registered and inspected
I
for noise.
understand that. But my concern is that I have owned 2 motorcycles in my time. And some of the noise that motorcycles today make is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it shakes the ground. I know because they go by my house. I live up in the woods, and 142 is down below, and I can hear them down there. So I just was wondering what the school's going to be like. Is that going to happen there, or what your policy is?
At least for us, during, at least school hours, we plan on going around the long way.
Oh, that's
So at least we won't be, disturbing their studies.
shaking the school.
Right.
Yeah.
And during functions, it might be hard to direct, all of the people. Most of our functions will be on the weekend anyway.
Right. I could never get my bike inspected with that kind of stuff, but I
Right.
guess today it's different or something. Different standard, I guess. Thank you.
Come on up. Right to the microphone, please.
Well, she's coming up. I was at the store the other day, and there had to have been 12 of you guys pulling in from 142. They were respectful. They weren't speeding. We were standing out there, and Tim and I were able to carry on our conversation as you guys rode by. So, for what that's worth.
Virginia Kenny. The other day when I went by your clubhouse, I noticed you had a Confederate flag prominently displayed in the window, and it just sort of bothered me.
We took it down.
I noticed that tonight. Thank you, I just
No
wondering
problem.
if this was a racist,
No, not at all, not at all.
why the flag was up.
Just, it was one of the flags that one of the guys put up, but we took it down, we got curtains for the front windows.
Okay.
Nothing, didn't mean anything by it.
Okay.
Bob?
Yeah, I have a question. I don't have to need the microphone, I'm loud enough. I just want to ask about the club, like, is it going to be a beer club? I mean, you're going to have parties there, or, you know, because across the road, they have picnics and stuff over there. A lot of people go there and use the picnic area over there and have a lot of small kids over there. What's the purpose of the club? Is it just for you group? That's it? And
For now it is, yeah, we're not gonna open it back up as a bar. It's just
it's
a
not going to
private-
be a bar?
No, it's just gonna be a private establishment where we all, and our families hang out. And just so you guys know, we have been running people out across the street. I don't know what they're doing there at nighttime, but if they're not fishing, we've been going over and checking them out.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay,
Gordy?
Gordon Christensen, just curious as to how many members are in your club?
Not nearly enough.
20, 100,
Yeah. No, not, about 20-ish, let's say.
20-ish? Are you
Yeah.
accepting new members?
Absolutely. Stop by. You got a bike?
I do.
All right, swing in. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Bring your family.
All right, behind you.
Anybody else? Before we move forward?
The place looks better than it has in years.
We had a lot of work today too, and you know, it's a little rough,
Yep.
but yeah, it's looking good.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you coming and answering questions, and I appreciate everybody in the community that came out to ask questions. I know that's not always an easy thing to ask your questions in public. So, appreciate everybody coming out. So we're moving forward. Approval of regular meeting minutes from August 7th, 2018.
So are you guys all good with us?
Yeah, you're all set.
We're gonna go back work on a place somewhere.
Absolutely. Have fun.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.
I move we approve the minutes of Tuesday, August 7th. I don't see any corrections.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes from August 7th. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
And I would need to abstain from that?
Yes, because you were not here.
Correct.
Did you get that?
Bills and warrants.
I was not here at the last time.
Abstain.
Yeah, speak up so Michelle can hear you, please.
I'm old and deaf. I move that we authorize payment of the following warrants. 4T accounts payable, $142,513.43. 32S payroll, $12,293.44. And 33S payroll, $11,937.34.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the bills and warrants as read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Gordon,
Yes, sir.
come on up. Our favorite thing in the world, the maturing bond.
Maturing bonds. Doesn't get more exciting than that on a
It's-
Tuesday
it's
night.
Pretty amazing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gordon Christensen. Tonight, I would just like to share with you that in the last month, we've had two $100,000 bonds that have matured. I have spoken with Cindy, and I'm not seeing her, but she is not in any need of the assets, and I have her blessings to reinvest those two bonds. Just like to share with you the two bonds. I'm not doing anything different than has been done in years past. The bonds are coming to maturity in $100,000 increments, okay? Reviewing the bonds that were available today, I could have suggested taking the two individual $100,000 bonds, putting them into a $200,000 bonds. No real advantage, and I don't want to shake up the pot. So with that being said, there is a triple BA. Now, I'm not sure, I'll give you a little investment 101 here. Bonds are graded as far as credit ratings. So one of the bonds that matured recently, $100,000 bonds, was a triple B plus. It's a medium grade bond. The interest rate on it was 2.9%. I'm replacing that with a 3.01 bond with a double A plus. It's superior. The only thing better than a double A plus is a triple A bond. So the credit rating is extremely good. The other nice thing about this bond is both the bonds that I'm proposing tonight are selling at a discount. What that means is by reinvesting this first bond, the town has a savings of $288.50. The second bond, $100,000 bond, had a little bit better rating. It was an A-rated bond. I'm replacing it again with a double A-rated bond. That bond had a yield of 2.1%. I'm replacing it with one for 2.5, but it has a much bigger discount. So in other words, when I mean by discount, it's selling at 94.2 cents on the dollar. So the town will be saving $5,617.26 on this bond. And that's it. The next bond that is due is another $100,000 triple B bond that'll be maturing on September 26th. So if you would like to put me on the agenda for that previous Tuesday, it would be much appreciated, Michelle. And that's what I have.
Questions? Okay. Make a motion to accept the new bonds as laid out.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to accept the bonds as laid out by Gordon. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Patch.
All right.
Tennis court resurfacing bids, come on up, Seth.
Pass them on. I am here to present the Recreation Board's recommendation for work to be completed on the tennis courts. Basically, we have a capital plan budget of $20,000 that became available July 1. When we put that figure together, we had estimates ranging from $17,000 to $19,000 is kind of where we expected this project to come in at. We did send out bid requests to 5 companies, 3 in Vermont, 1 in New Hampshire, and 1 in Massachusetts. Received only 1 bid back, but we were very happy with that bid. It was under our expected cost. So the Recreation Board met last night, and they recommend to you guys to accept the bid of $14,548 from Vermont Tennis Courts with the work to be completed this fall.
How many years will this resurfacing last?
They typically last a minimum of 10 years. The one that was done previously, it's been about 20 years. It probably could have been done sooner, but we tried to kind of extend it out as far as we could.
Okay.
It was done in 1999 or that ballpark before.
Anybody else have any questions?
The company that came and looked at it did say the courts are in exceptional condition. They said that there's very little, patchwork or anything that needs to be done. They were pretty pleased with that. So
So it should be pretty straightforward, not much repair.
didn't look to be really anything. He kind of looked and said, well, we'll kind of grind that little spot off and throw a little patch on that. And there's one little spot next to one of the posts that, that we've had repaired previously, but he said that's nothing. Little piece of cake for him.
So apparently there's some special surfacing stuff that they put on there. It's not
Yeah.
like getting another whole layer of asphalt or anything.
No. They'll come and
something.
they'll clean what's on there now.
Yeah.
They'll power wash it, blow it all off. They'll
Right.
provide a primer coat, and then 2 coats of the. It's an acrylic finish with a grit in it,
It's almost like a truck bed coating.
so that it not slippery, provides a good surface.
Yeah. I move we accept this bid and go forward with that.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the bid from Vermont Tennis Courts. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Okay, thanks for your time, guys.
Can I have one more copy?
Yep.
I'll just save you.
You can have that one. Yeah. All right, guys, thanks a lot.
See you soon.
Okay.
Alright, so the next thing we have are the town office lock replacements. This is, again, another capital plan item that we've been saving for the last couple of years to do away with keys and go to something that's a little bit more controllable. So we have a bid from Tech Solutions in your packet, which came in under the $10,000 that we have set aside, $99.85. And as we discussed at the last select board meeting, there is an annual maintenance fee of $400 a year. We got that brought down from $900 a year from their original quote. After I made a phone call, and then Michelle made a phone call regarding the cost of the keys themselves and got it under where we needed it to be. You have anything to add?
I do, I just want to say that the $400 is annual. If we do add more keys, because we can certainly add more as we go on, we can talk about that when we do the budget, and we can include the highway department, some of the garages that we use, the gas pumps, things like that on this system. That cost, the annual cost will go up the more keys we add. But that's it.
Questions?
I guess I could also add that replacing one front door lock right now, or any of the outside doors, is about $300. So when somebody loses a key, we spend $300 to replace the door. Now we can just, if we do this, we can turn off the key.
And that was the impetus behind doing this to begin with, is because we were paying it.
And we pay $30 about per key when any of them get lost.
So what, it'll be a card or a code or something? I wasn't here.
It's
Be an electronic key.
Okay.
it's an actual key. So the cards would cost about $300 a door because you have to electrify the door. With this system, the key is the electrified piece. So the locks themselves don't have to be electric. So the locks themselves are only about 150, 105, 225, they're sort of all over, but they're not $300 a piece.
Yep.
Can you shut a key off without, okay.
Yep.
You can shut a key off.
I'll be able to do it from my
smartphone.
phone.
Okay.
So, you know, the planning commission or, you know, somebody needs to utilize the select board room, we can activate the key for the day. They don't have to go bother signing in and out and all that kind of thing. We can just turn it on and off.
Yeah, the system includes a box outside the police store with 2 keys in it, and you get a code, and only your key will come out, and it can be programmed to be able to unlock whatever doors for however much time you want.
Yep.
So as long as they put the key back in the middle at night when they're done, it'll be turned off and everything will be shut off. Nobody will have access to any keys. Or if they need to get into something else, they can call me and I can actually do it on my phone.
JJ?
Is there gonna be an actual master key, like the fire department? One key fits, will go to all the doors to the building? Because we have to have access to the building to get in here for whatever reason. One key would be the ideal,
Wouldn't it? We can do that.
and then actually that key could be separate to that box, because they actually make Knox boxes, so the fire department is the only one that can have access to that key.
That's not in this, but we can give you a key. As long as you don't lose the key.
We've got the Knox boxes.
You've got what?
We have the Knox boxes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, there is a key in here for it. There's extras in here.
All right.
You guys are so full of enthusiasm tonight.
Yeah, I
Normally
know.
we just approve stuff and we keep going and
All
I
right,
can't
all
get
right.
anybody to say
I make a
anything.
motion that we accept this bid for $9,985 to update our key and lock system.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the Tech Solutions bid for the updated town office lock replacement. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. There you go.
You better help everybody. I get this.
Okay, so listers, errors and omissions. Just this one page?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any questions regarding this?
Nope.
So then we need to make a motion to accept the
Adjustment.
adjustment for the listers.
I move we accept the adjustment in listers.
Second.
I don't know how much more specific
That's
you need to be.
That's moved and seconded to accept the errors and omissions from the listers. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Town office landscape bids. We have the full bids, and I think everybody kind of looked at them, and we also have a breakdown in front of us here of the different bids, and they are kind of all over the board. So,
Well, one of them, Bernard Tree Care, they're under $3,000. Everyone else is over 5,500.
Yep.
It's a substantial savings.
Yep.
So that being said, they're agreeing to what this proposal is, right? I mean, all of that work.
They all receive the same specs.
Because some of them are indicating, weeding and weed whacking. So the weeding, I'm concerned about. Trimming bushes, I'm concerned about being included.
Well, they're not included on any of the other bids. It says it's an additional,
Well,
$35 an hour or $40 an hour for that extra work.
this
With the exception of
contract does
Bristol's.
include it though. That's why I'm like, that price is really gonna be in what we're proposed to them, hopefully. Because it says trim and weed is necessary as directed. Because things got a little bit out of control on the property.
Let's go around the table. Chris?
I mean, even if we asked for that, I think we're still considerably under the other 4 bids that are there. Bristol's is the only one that mentions the weeding and weed whacking included. The $40, that breaks down differently. Other than that, I would probably still side with Renaud based on the price.
Okay.
Same, Bernard.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's given a price weekly mowing, and I'm just wondering what's happening to all the rest of the things we were asking for in the proposal, because they still need to be done.
Can I see that?
I guess I'm confused about your.
It's not just mowing the lawn, it's, the proposal had applied treatments as necessary to maintain continued lawn and plant health, trim and weed as necessary, plant and mulch as directed, weed or trim again.
Did you look at the actual bid from them? Because it does say that the mowing and trimming, blowing grass off from walkways, the annual plants is a charge based on the cost of materials. Lawn treatments will be an additional cost, so it does break down a little bit more in these.
Yeah, the trimming though, I'm not sure if that's just concerned with the lawn or if they are gonna trim trim the bushes that were like monstrosities over around the gazebo and the war memorial. That place was out of control this year.
I think even if you have them trim, even if it's an additional charge for them to trim the bushes around the
Yeah.
memorial twice a year, it's probably not gonna be $3,000 to do, which is about the difference in the bid right now.
Yeah.
So, if that's the least of our concerns, that's a good thing. And it is a significant difference, especially if you look at a per mo rate, it is hugely different.
Yep.
So,
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely like that bid, as long as we're not gonna become the jungle again.
I make a motion that we accept the bid from Resurfacing Tree Care out of Dummerston.
Second.
moved and seconded to accept the Resurfacing Tree Care bid for mowing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Ratify overspending contract line item replacement email provider. So essentially what happened is our email is gonna be shut off, not of any of our fault or anything. The service provider's just not providing the service anymore, correct?
Yes, but we do have, they had sent an email out to our tech guy, Bill Vermouth, saying that they were gonna turn it off on August 31st. So we were really scrambling to try to find a replacement for that. Now that they have pushed that back to December 31st, I'm assuming because everybody else was going, wait, what? But in the meantime, Bill has worked up a estimate of what it would be to switch over to Microsoft. So, but the bottom line really is that we are going to have to switch. Right now, our service is about $500 a year. We are definitely going to overspend our maintenance and our contract line item in our budget because we're not gonna get anything for that price again. And remember, we're gonna have to pay Bill to move everything over. So Microsoft is what he recommends. It would be the least disruptive. It has the most space. They do have a government rate, that's what this is. And any other options that we do, so this is a Microsoft-based system, would be the other options would be a POP-based system, which would be very similar to SovereignNet, which everybody is not happy with and does not have the storage that we really need as a town government.
So-
However, it will be cheaper.
What'll be cheaper?
If we go to
If you go to a
POP, which is what we have
POP-based.
now,
Yeah.
it's just not very user-friendly.
Well, I'm not
If you
very
use
happy with
Microsoft
SovereignNet.
Office and you want to use this system, it won't look any different.
I stopped using it.
And that's a
I
problem.
forget to check that one.
That's, yeah, I'm not doing this.
There are public records rules that we need to keep all that information in. And the easiest way to really do that is a system like this.
Well, we need to do this one.
For those of you that don't understand how bad SovereignNet is, you can't even understand whether you have an email or not. When you open up the system that we currently use in the town office, it's just not clear. It's not clear if you've read it, it's not clear if you opened it, it's not an easy way to respond. It doesn't work on smartphones, so you can't hook up your smartphone to it and be able to work, especially as a selectman that, you know, works in the town. We have no access to that email unless you're near a PC. So we're kind of glad that it's going away, but we're not happy about the extra expense.
And I didn't have any trouble with it working, but every couple of months, my storage was maxed out, so I got nothing. No email came through. So I didn't know what was going on.
All that being said,
Can
we
we
need
ask
to-
a question at this point or not?
Sure, absolutely.
I'm just wondering what the school uses and if you're aligning with that, or if there's any advantage to that.
I don't know what WSES uses. I have to imagine it's a Microsoft based because that's what most people use anymore. So I gotta imagine it's probably very similar, if not the same system as what we are proposing to go to. So we need to ratify this overspending. Please and thank you.
So moved.
Moved and seconded to ratify the overspending on the replacement of the email provider. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Leadership,
Are you good with the Microsoft system?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Everybody okay with Microsoft?
Give big storage,
Yeah.
please.
Leadership Conference nomination, there is a Leadership Conference on October 1st. I'm not sure where it is, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Castleton.
Castleton, we have the opportunity to send a community member at no charge to this Leadership Conference. So if anybody would like to make a nomination, town officials, people that are involved in the community, that are on boards and committees, those are the type of people that, would probably benefit from this. People that are, I don't want to exclude anybody, but younger people obviously would be a really good thing, as it's a leadership conference, and we can use that from some younger people. So, if anybody has a nomination?
If it helps, I'd just like you to know that myself, Bob Spencer, and a third person have been asked to speak. So we will all be going up together so we can carpool if somebody is interested in doing it.
So if we don't have anybody that we are, right top of mind right this second, we can, this doesn't have to be a vote at the select board necessarily. It's just kind of everybody that agrees on, a particular person, and give it some thought if you don't have somebody right off their head to talk to tonight. And Patty with the Planning Commission, if, somebody comes to mind to nominate out of your group, I don't know if, Jessica might be interested in doing something like this,
Well, I
or...
think when the three of us are gonna be there anyway.
Yeah.
It's been put out to the whole planning commission, but
Okay.
nobody else is. Jessica, I think, will be back at school, and with the
Yeah.
kids and stuff, it might be a little hard for her.
So, give it some thought. Doesn't sound like anybody's got anything right off the top of their head at the moment, so.
We do have one free one. We have one, Patty, we have one free membership, that's what that is.
We do, well, we're
That's what they gave us.
So,
No, but if you know of anybody else that wants to go,
are
it's
you
a
saying if
free.
the select board member
they-
doesn't wanna go, we can take the free?
Yeah, that's what this nomination's
is, a
all
free
about.
tuition.
I don't know that there's anybody on the select board that's gonna be able to attend that particular conference, because I think there's, the town fair is shortly thereafter, and I'm not gonna be able to go to this one and go to the town fair. I just can't take that much time off of work, but
Okay.
I think the town fair is more important for me to attend than the leadership conference is.
This does say that I'm gonna reply by the 31st.
Yeah. So, think of somebody. If you do, shoot Michelle an email, and we'll get it out to the board to say yes to. I gotta imagine the first person that brings up a name that somebody willing to come, they're probably gonna get the okay to do it, so. All right. Budget meeting schedule. Why are we talking about budgets in August?
Because they start in September.
I know.
So I just need from you, as I create the schedule, we have done it the day after the meeting. Last year, we did it, every other week, the next day.
Wednesdays.
Or you could do it alternating weeks, so before I create a schedule and start prepping all the department heads, I just want to get an idea
I
of the
thought that
kind of
worked out
schedule
right
that you
last
want to
year.
do.
Every
What's
other
that?
Wednesday? Okay.
As I recall, it seemed.
The day after your meeting.
How's that work for you, Chris? You weren't here last year to experience it.
It's a lot of fun.
And I have been looking forward to it. Yeah, it's,
Now's your time, buddy.
it is what it is. It's
Okay.
fine.
So every Wednesday following select board meetings from now until eternity, we will talk about budgets, starting in September. Very good. All right. Disposition of recreation department lawnmower. That beautiful hunk of machinery that's in the garage.
All you got is the one.
We have one bid.
You don't have it in front of you?
I probably do. I just
George
really
Pond,
don't want to look.
bid $150,
Yep,
I believe.
that's what it says.
That's all we got.
That's her.
Josh, is that the one up at the rec center, or the one that's sitting over here in the North School barn?
No, it's the one at the rec center.
Okay.
There's 3 lawnmowers in the rec department garage. There's the one that we're talking about, and then there's 2 that are matching that we keep going with each other's parts.
What's gonna happen to the one that's sitting over here?
I don't think there is
I
one
don't think
over
there's
there.
one over there anymore.
There was this winter, there was the one with a cab on it and stuff.
We'll have to explore that, because I'm not aware of that one. If you want to buy it, it goes to the highest
It
bidder.
might be the rec one that they put over there for storage.
Could be.
I
It was the
think
one that Kevin used to
Check
use to
that.
do the sidewalks and stuff.
the rec department got, the town one because we were gonna get a new one and we took that off the capital plan and they did something with parts or something. So, the one the town had went to the rec because it was almost done.
I move we accept George Pond's bid for $150.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept George Pond's bid for $150 for our lovely old John
To their
Deere.
best wishes.
Yes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? George just bought himself a tractor. Always wanted to do that. All right, Vernon Historians Insurance Discussion and Lease.
It's still there?
Yeah. And you're right, it is still there. So, we haven't got any communication regarding it since our last meeting.
I gave them the information that they had asked for, 'cause they asked for the emails from our insurance company saying that they
Yep.
needed to do it and that it was increasing the town's liability. And I also gave them copies of other towns. I think I came up with 6 or 7 towns that had very similar agreements with similar organizations, nonprofits. A couple of them were actually historical societies. They were the exact same situation. So they had asked to see that, and that was the last I heard.
Okay. So, probably next step should be a letter from the select board saying that we need to get this done. And I am happy to sign that if you want to put it together. Please and thank you.
To get them to sign it?
Yes.
Is that the,
Yes, yes.
What is the overall holdup here? We've been dealing with this for 3 months now, 2 months.
The overall holdup was what we heard 2 weeks ago. All those questions should have been answered with the paperwork and emails from our insurance company that they received probably, 2 or 3 days after the meeting, we got them everything.
it was very,
So they've had it for a week and a half. But if I recall from our discussion with Heather, they aren't meeting again for a little while, but we did ask them to meet on this specifically once they got all the information. So that's where we're at right now, is we need to ask them to have an earlier meeting to get this discussion done. And I'm happy to send that email if you want me to. So, all right, discussion of noise ordinance. So you have an example of kind of a basic noise ordinance, but there are some, specific things in there.
it's my first stab at a draft.
Yeah,
That's a
Better than what we
starting,
looked
it's a
at
starting
before.
point.
Way better than what was presented before.
so it's fairly simple, it's not hugely complicated, but provides kind of the checks and balances that we talked about over the last several weeks of talking about this. Excuse me. Does anybody have any questions on it, immediate concerns? What section are you looking at? Start with Chris.
Section 4, my concern would be that we're looking at too many call-outs to law enforcement just because a neighbor doesn't like what their neighbor is doing at 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. So I don't know if that section gets reworded, taken out, or we put something in there that breaks it down a little bit more.
How?
I
I would
again,
love to
and that's
do
why
that.
I'm not sure if that needs to be removed or what, but I certainly feel that that is going to lead to an awful lot of issues. Just, you don't like what your neighbor's doing, then you're gonna be calling the police on a weekend, and I'm just,
The impetus behind Section 4, which I don't know if everybody has this that wants to have it, but
There's
it's
copies up by the clipboard.
but it's daytime noise, and out of the 3 or 4 complaints that we've got this summer, they've all been daytime noise. Surprisingly, they're not nighttime noise complaints, and I think that's why this was put in there. And I definitely understand what you're saying. I get that.
I think for a town that has not had a noise ordinance to impose that, and, I mean, that's a huge restriction all at once. Out of, not to say out of nowhere, but, I mean.
But at the same time, I mean, it is very open to interpretation, and maybe that's part of your problem with it, is it says excessive unnecessary noise over a long period of time. What's a long period of time?
Which is gonna be different
to
to every
me,
person.
exactly.
Well, the other one is what is excessive?
Yes.
What is long time?
What do you consider excessive? What do you consider a long time?
Can I give you an example of excessive noise?
Sure, come on up, and can you give us your name, please?
Sure.
Yep.
My name's Ted Kelly. I live up on Huckler Hill Road in Vernon. And I was at the last select board meeting. Unfortunately, I was a little late because I was attending another meeting on the other side of the building here. On July 8th, I believe that was a Sunday, I had a family gathering at my house, and at approximately 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a neighbor had just himself or a number of people at his house shooting off automatic weapons for a period of 3 hours.
Just clarification, they were probably semi-automatic.
They were to be more specific, they were the amount of fire was continuous.
Sure.
It was continuous over a period of 3 hours, and this was in earshot of us, and we had to basically stop what we were doing and send everyone home, and we had to endure this constant, repetitive, loud noise that is now becoming more of a common thing up where I live. It not only happened in this incident, but it's been happening over a good, I would say, the last 2 years or so up on the Basin Road. There's another issue there where there's a family that has created a firing range in the back of their property and fires at will for, again, a constant length of time. Could be a half hour, could be 2 hours. And the neighbors in the area, this one neighbor was so upset, or gets so upset, that he actually starts to scream, "Please stop, please stop." And the people don't seem to get the issue. And just, like, I would say probably maybe about 4 or 5 days ago, there was another excessive amount of gunfire in my neighborhood from another new resident that lasted probably anywhere between a half hour to 45 minutes. And this isn't just someone going out and checking their weapon before going out to hunt. This is a group of people, or even one person, basically creating a rifle range in his backyard. And You know, I don't own a gun. I don't have anything against hunting or people owning guns, but I do have a problem with my own residents not being able to have some peace and quiet on a Sunday. And, you know, I do understand that there's a lot of government issues with this and state issues with regards to shooting weapons for a long period of time. And, you know, I just did some quick, I won't bore you with a number of statistics or anything, but I will give you some quick estimates here. In our twin states or tri-state area in New York, Massachusetts, and even in New Hampshire, there's a 500-foot rule. And basically what the 500-foot rule is that no person shall discharge a firearm, within 500 feet of a dwelling or residence without that person's consent. So it's even more restrictive than, so if a person shoots it once, he or she is in trouble. That's not what I'm after here. A 500-foot rule would be great for the town of Vernon. It would protect residents like myself who basically don't have or don't own a weapon. It might discourage or stop any type of damage that could happen from someone discharging the weapon constantly in their backyard. You know, just to give you an idea as far as decibels are concerned, I did just a quick study. A decibel of a jackhammer is 95 decibels, which is not going to do too much harm. But most firearms are decibels of 155 decibels or more. And that can cause permanent damage to your ears if you're within 500 feet of that constant, continuous, intimidating gunfire. So
just a quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
The 155 decibels is measured at what distance from the firearm?
That's a good question. And like I said, not to be specific, but they were talking about people who are actually firing them at firing ranges. Yeah. And they were saying, hey, look, if you're going to be firing these weapons, you better have earplugs.
Protection. Right?
Yep. In a case like this, I'm not sure exactly when the ear damage comes into effect, but if you have a 6-year-old child that's outside playing and you've got somebody shooting off automatic weapons, a series of clips of 6 or 7 bullets at a time over a 3-hour period, you can guess that you're probably not doing any good for them. You know what I also did? I did some checking in terms of different towns in the state of Vermont. Vermont is the only state. I was trying to find a 500-foot rule in the state of Vermont. I guess there are some rules on public buildings, not being able to shoot a weapon or having a weapon in or near public buildings. But there's nothing about a 500-foot rule with regards to the state. But there's the town of Bristol. The select board enacted the following ordinance to protect the health, the safety, and welfare of its citizens. They enacted a 500-foot rule for discharge of firearms, which included BB guns in this particular case. But I don't know whether or not that actually has been ratified, but it is something that is on the books in the town of Bristol for that purpose. You know, and just to end, you know, it looks like there's been a lot of work here as far as the last time I was here, I just think that the town is changing so much over the past number of years that I've lived here. I've lived here for 38 years. I've never had this type of an issue go on. I've lived in my residence for 30 years, and I've never heard this type of total disregard for your neighbor. So if something can come of it, you know, through a noise ordinance during the day, because obviously you can't shoot at night unless you're really going to give yourself some trouble. I think the daytime ordinance with regards to noise could apply to something as extreme as this.
So you had said that previously, or most recently, it was a half an hour to 45 minutes, but
Yeah.
then a month or so ago, it was 3
No,
to 4 hours.
a month ago.
So that's a huge difference.
Oh, sure, it's a
So-
different
so-
person.
But I'm asking which, in order to fit in here, as far as what is unnecessary or too much,
Yeah.
is the half hour too much, or is the 4 hours too much? If
Well, it depends, let's put it this way, that's something that the select board's gonna need to decide, I'm not gonna be able to decide that. But as
But
far
that's,
as,
that's the problem with this, is that there's so much room for interpretation on
Okay.
that,
Well-
so you're gonna find it differently than JJ is, than Norm, so how do we put something in here that breaks it down so that everybody's happy?
well,
And that's my issue
in
with
my,
the date.
in my case here, the reason why I'm here is because of the gun noise. Okay? Specifically, gun noise. I'm not here because of any other noise preference at this particular time. I'm talking about gun noise in a
So
residence
ultimately,
area.
you don't wanna hear any gunfire in your area of town, is that?
No, this is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, if someone is out checking his weapon before they're going hunting, I'm used to that type of gunfire. I'm used to hearing distant gunfire from people shooting in the woods hunting. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with was exactly what I just mentioned. That's what I have a problem with. And that kind of noise, you're playing on the emotions of people and their tolerance for noise. And some people have higher tolerances than others. Unfortunately, this is the type of noise that's intolerable when it's repetitive, continuous, and intimidating over an extremely long period of time. And it's become a sport. And it's something that really needs to be taken a look at. I'm not the one that's going to decide how long, someone should have to tolerate that kind of noise. But I think it's, common, you have to have some kind of a ruling that makes sense to people who don't have the wherewithal to go out and shoot target practice in their backyard for hours on end at times, or even for 45 minutes at times. There should be places for them to go outside of a residential area to discharge this type of weapon. I mean, with all the news about guns, gun violence, and everything that happens, I can't see how you're going to go a little bit ways into Vermont, and if you're in New Hampshire or New York or Massachusetts, they all have these laws. So I'm just saying that I think it's a great step, the noise ordinance. If it needs to be ratified a bit, that's up to the select board.
Okay. Yeah, come on up.
My name's Doug Cassidy, I live down on Homestead Way. And I don't have an issue with the gunfire and all of that down there, but I do have, this is the third incident in the last 10 or 15 years where we'll get a very disruptive dog. Now, I can tolerate that for half an hour, anybody can. But I have a neighbor now that likes to put them in the kennel and leave for work at 8 a.m. and not come home till 7 p.m. That's excessive. And it's just daily. And there's 4 of them, not just one. And I have gotten Steve involved with speaking to her because she just ignores our request to, this needs to calm down. Now, if she's home and we put it on Facebook or give her a phone call, she'll stop it right away. But the next day, it's like, well, we're done bothering them yesterday, let's bother them again today. You know what I mean? At what point in the real world, you're respectful to your neighbors? I think a lot of that in today's day and age, it's more entitlement I can do whatever I want. It's my land. Unfortunately, Homestead Way, I stood out on my porch the other day and I could count 10 houses right from my front porch. So we're in a very densely populated neighborhood, and it's not right because I can name 4 neighbors that have now since retired or have different schedules, so they're home all day. That wasn't the case maybe 10 years ago. But now, this is, like I said, the 3rd incident over the last 10 years where we've had to get law enforcement involved because there's just no respect factor. So I don't, going back to what Ted said, I don't know what constitutes how much is unnecessary, but in my mind, if you know you're aggravating your neighbors, it's all unnecessary. You know what I mean? I mean, at some point, we've got to say there's got to be some common sense. And I don't know how we get there, but if we need to speak up and say something to somebody, then we need to start. That's what I needed to say here. Thank you.
JJ.
So, looking at this, and I think it's great. I've got issues on my road as well. And, you know, nowadays it's even gotten worse now with other things that have changed. The one question I have for Michelle is section 3, it says 11 p.m. The state's version of the noise is at sundown. So why wouldn't we follow that way of sundown with noise issues?
A lot of this is what the select board directed me on. If there's,
Because I can tell you,
it's a draft.
Well, above and beyond that, sundown in the winter is 5 o'clock.
And the select boards can change it. It says in the state
but, you know,
statute that
8, 9 o'clock at night would sound more appropriate. I mean, especially a lot of people are going to bed at that time to get up, go in the morning to work and stuff like that. I think it's great. The thing about, Ted was talking about with the guns and everything, I'm a gun person. I won't, you know, this town's tried this before, with guns and the control of it. And the town put it down. They shut it right down. It could be the townspeople now might change. But, you know, in the past,
That's definitely, Mr. Kelly came to the meeting a little late, as he mentioned, we had already adjourned, so Gina and I sat and spoke with him for, 45 minutes or so, and I did express that concern that, even if this noise ordinance gets passed, it still has to make it through town meeting, and I am 99.5% confident it will not pass the town of Vernon. I could be very wrong, but I am, based on our experience with the junk ordinance and, various other things that, put restrictions on what you can do on your land and the response that we got to it.
Right.
My thinking is that this is the same thing that's gonna happen with any noise ordinance that we do, regardless of how vague it is, but you never know. So, we gotta do what's best for the town, and the town decides that at town meeting in the end.
Like in my area, I've got neighbors next door, we've talked to them. Their kids are constantly out there working on vehicles at 10, 11 o'clock at night, racing up and down the roads. So, it's definitely something you guys are in the right, and this town needs to start looking at doing some things.
Let me ask a question. I mean, where do you go from here? Like, with everything that you've got in front of you and from everything that everybody's said so far, I mean, does it go to a petition or does it go just to a town vote?
It could go either way, really. I mean, if it wants to be, it can be pushed by a petition, but one way or the other, it will end up at town meeting. Whether it's petitioned or whether it's made as an article by the select board to put on for town meeting, it's gonna end up at town meeting one way or the other. If the select board decides to not go through with this and not do an article, but have it available for someone like yourself and residents to petition, then it gets on that way. So.
you can also pass it.
Yeah. We can also pass.
And they can overturn it at town meeting.
Yeah. Norm?
There was just a brief question about what the 11 o'clock reasoning was. When I looked up the Brattleboro Town Ordinance, I was here at a meeting, the one before last. Theirs is actually 10. I'm a camper, and so I thought, what could I deal with? My issue was still is chronic partying. The latest one woke us up at 4:30 in the morning. And so I thought, what could I live with? And what would be the most lenient that my neighbors might be more apt to agree to? And so that's where the 11 to 7 came in. I am totally sympathetic to the daytime noise portion. My concern with the daytime noise portion is that it does not limit industry, seeing that we don't have zoning. So that might be something the board might want to address. What would be, we don't have an industrial commercial zone. I assume people have in-home businesses and things like that. So it wasn't even on my, in my thought process about the daytime noise. But again, that's me personally. So.
Yeah, and please remember, this is a first draft of what I have a feeling is gonna be a few. Steve?
Yes, if I might, I'll just speak from here. Steve Skibnowski. I would refer you all to a noise ordinance that we already have in place. It's in the animal control paragraph, and I'll just read it quickly. A dog that disturbs the quiet comfort and repose of others by barking, whining, calling, or howling for a continuous period of 5 minutes or more, with less than 1 minute between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. regardless of frequency, and any such noises are audible off the premises upon which the domestic pet or domestic animal is kept. That becomes a nuisance under Section 4. And it says, any person who does not keep or harbor such a domestic pet or animal should be in violation of this ordinance and subject to pretty significant penalties, dollar-wise. As far as noise complaints, yes, I've dealt with some noise complaints, one in particular that you've heard about already. I won't go into the details, but what I will say is that I'd like to make sure that your noise ordinance or the noise ordinance that you have is not going to either negate this paragraph or that it makes it weaker than what you have, or I'd like to keep it in parallel. But I would also like to tell you that from the people that I've talked to in town, the hours of 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. is fine for people who have day shift jobs. But the problem is that many people in town here work other shifts than days, and sometimes they have to sleep during the day in order to get to work at night. And so for them, we're actually penalizing them. The other problem that we have here in town is not all areas are created equal. You've got an area like Homestead Way where he counted 10 houses out, just looking off his back porch. There are other areas that are built up significantly too. And so when you get a lot of noise, whether it be gunshots, dog barking, loud motorcycles, whatever, that is going to negatively impact the community. We've talked extensively about making Vernon a place that people want to move to, and we want our property values improved, and we're not going to be doing it if we have bedlam here when people come in even to show their houses. However you folks work it out, I think it's very important to recognize that noise pollution is one of the most aggravating things that people can come upon, especially when they're trying to perform the functions of life, which is sleeping, eating, and maybe having people over for a quiet dinner. That can be really intruded upon, as we've heard this evening. I was very fortunate in getting the owner of the dog that we were talking about earlier, to take some steps, and my understanding now is that situation has settled down dramatically. And I will continue to work on things like that. But I do think that we need to think about the fact that the town is comprised of many different people, and not all of them work days. I mean, most of you guys do, but some people work nights, and sometimes they have to go on shift, maybe during changes in their job. And that's very important to try to keep people comfortable in their homes. I mean, after all, that's what we're paying taxes for, isn't it? So I'd like to make sure that the ordinances that you have are integrated, and I think it's very important that we do have some kind of noise control in town. Thank you.
Yeah, we will do our best. I mean, as everybody that's sitting here can hear, there is, been 4 different types of noise pollution that's been brought about. From, revving engines to gunfire to loud parties to dogs barking. And taking that all into consideration and making an ordinance is not going to be a short process.
No, if I might also add, there was some mention of businesses here. One of the things I would point to as an exemplary situation is what they've done over here at the wood chip plant with that pile of stone that has actually deflected a lot of noise away from the residences along 142. They didn't have to put that pile of stone there. They could have left it down low and just loaded the cars up as they come in, but they've made that thing, what is it, like 30 feet tall? That's a big, big noise abatement for that mill that's on the other side. You don't even know it's there. I don't know people who live there across the road here, but I've not heard any complaints from them at all.
Paul?
Oh, thank you. Paula Ewan. The only thing I am concerned about is that 500-foot rule as far as the shooting goes. Because all around, I only have like 4 or 5 houses around where I live, but every night just about you hear it's coming like towards from like the back of Pond Road area, and then in back down towards, I don't know if you're familiar with Ugliano property down there on Farm Road. A lot comes from there, and of course the kids from the pool and stuff are up there. These people are firing off, I mean, we used to go to the gravel pits, but see, we can't do that anymore. But I like to target shoot or whatever, but not near a person's house. But that is my only concern.
And that's actually a whole different. That has nothing to do with an ordinance. That's gun control. So that gets even into a bigger sticky wicket.
Right.
Well, public safety.
John, I just want to say that some of the folks that are here tonight, I've never seen them complain about anything at a select board meeting. So for them to be here, it's got to be a very serious issue. I am a huge Second Amendment rights supporter, but if we have people target shooting really close to other people's houses, that's a dangerous situation. Now you're talking about a safety issue. I don't ever want to see anybody's gun taken away from them, but if people aren't smart enough to use their heads and they're shooting up in neighborhoods, that's pretty frightening. We hear hunting season every year. We hear about somebody who got killed because hunters went too close to neighborhoods. And we have people target shooting in the neighborhood. I think you really need to look at how close to these homes is this target shooting going on, because that, I think, is an even worse situation than the noise ordinance.
I mean, try to answer your question as far as distance is concerned. Now, because we have more than one party that's doing it in my area, I have 3. It's like three areas, less than a half a mile. You're talking less than. In my case, it's less than 500 feet. It's like less than 200 feet. It is. It's horrible to experience it. Like I said before, a person hunting, in the woods, shooting his rifle, I don't have a problem with that at all. I don't have a problem with someone even cleaning their gun and shooting it and make sure it's working. But for someone to turn his backyard into a shooting range, I just think it's, in this day and age, in this type of town, the way that it is now, you're just asking for trouble.
All right, Chris, since we started with you,
yes.
Is there any other section that you want to bring up? Okay. Jeff?
I guess I just have a comment. It's sad that as a society, we need to legislate and enforce civility and respect for your neighbors. That should be common sense, but I fear the way society's going, it'll be a more commonplace dealing with situations like this.
Okay.
Well, that being said, that's what we end up doing, is regulating the people that don't have that respect. And I think we do need to listen to the people and keep working on this and develop something that will keep our citizens having some peace in their lives and safety.
I'm gonna be the unpopular one, because that's typically what I do. And it's typically because it's what I believe, and it is what it is. I think it's important for us to do this. I think it's important for us to discuss. I think we're gonna put a heck of a lot of work into it, and it's gonna go away real fast come town meeting. That's my thought. I could be very wrong, but I think I'm very right. So I guess my caution to us as a select board is, let's do this to the best of our ability, but let's not make this our career until town meeting.
Right.
That's my caution. Because we have, you know, as I said already, we have 4 different types of noise complaints. And at different times, whether it be in the evening or during the day, and it's gonna be very difficult to satisfy everybody with a noise ordinance. It's just not gonna happen. There's gonna be somebody that we can't make happy with whatever ordinance that we put together. So that's all I have to say, and I very much appreciate everybody coming out, because as Patty mentioned, people don't typically come to select board meetings. They just don't. So, and as Patty mentioned, I see, you know, faces that I haven't, you know, seen come here before, or, you know, different places. So I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate your concern. Please understand that, you know, what I'm saying, I'm not discounting what you have said or brought here. I'm just trying to bring a little reality into what we have to deal with going forward as a select board. It's not gonna be a quick process, and it's gonna be an argument at town meeting, if and when it comes about. So if you feel strongly about this, please continue to talk to us. Please, you know, encourage your neighbors to come talk to us with their thoughts and suggestions as we go through this process. And when it comes around to town meeting, make sure that you got enough people there to support what we're doing. Because otherwise, we've all put in a lot of work. You guys have taken time out of your day to come here. We're gonna take time out of our, you know, select board time to make this noise ordinance work. And I think we all wanna work towards a common goal. But if we don't have that support at town meeting, all that work is for nothing. So.
I mean, I'm not so much about the noise ordinance, I'm more about the safety thing.
Yeah, and that is a different thing, and that's
yeah.
a little bit easier to.
Yeah.
That's a little bit easier ordinance to put together,
Right.
actually, than a noise ordinance. Putting 500 feet on a restriction or a 300-foot restriction is a very easy thing to do. A noise ordinance is not.
Right.
So we're gonna start here and work our way.
Now, it's kind of on the same things that has been brought up. On the junk, there's no junk ordinance,
There's
right?
no junk ordinance. It got turned down at town meeting.
No, I'm serious. A few years ago, you would never see what you see now in town.
Well, you know.
And Pond Road, I'm telling you, beginning to look.
Okay,
like-
let's not start talking about the
Okay,
junk ordinance.
Okay,
We're
I'm
gonna
just
stay on task here.
mentioning that I think, that's my opinion.
Alright,
I hate having.
everybody back up here,
Okay, I'd
please.
like some direction now.
We love
Now that
Vernon.
the select
So-
board has heard, this is the first draft, I will rewrite it. So, two questions that I have as I move forward for our second draft. What does the select board think about the time? 11 PM to 7 AM right now was discussed a number of times. Do you wanna change that?
I think because we have the 10 AM, or excuse me, the 10 PM to 7 AM time slot in the dog ordinance, I think it makes sense to, mesh those two together.
Okay, and then, now, we had talked about at the last meeting, trying to stay as vague as possible to try to work on it, you know it when you see it kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If that's not gonna work, we can go to if it's X amount of decibels for X amount of time, it's excessive and too long. We can narrow it down to that, but at the last meeting, I think the board had kind of decided not to get that specific, but we can do that. So and that would eliminate some of the ambiguity in that section 4, if that's the direction that you wanna go. Now, we don't have zoning here, so it would be over all of town unless, because now that might limit what happens over there on the Vermont Yankee site, what happens at the mills. Remember, there's noise levels there, they're not zoned, so I don't know how you would divide those out, because it's kind of illegal to.
Well, I think we're in kind of we're in the middle of making a noise ordinance, which is just a huge pain. And there is no way to, like I said, make anybody happy. And there's no way to make this terribly enforceable, regardless of what you do. Because to Chris's point, you can, I can say, you shot for a half an hour, that's too much and excessive. I'm calling VSB or the sheriffs, and Jeff is shooting for, 2 hours, and Chris thinks that's too much, but he was okay with half an hour.
Well, that's why you could do the decibels for X
But then you get
minutes.
into that, and it's almost unenforceable. Because unless you have an officer there with a decibel reader, and they're, standing there next to your neighbor with a decibel reader, it's kind of ridiculous, actually, to even have that. That's my opinion, but. Go ahead, Jim.
No, I'm all set.
Okay.
The only other downside to it, I hate to say this, VSP is not gonna come out for a noise complaint. So,
I'm wondering what OSHA has to say about that, if we're talking about, certainly OSHA's already been through this. What do they say about decibels and noises and length of time that employees are exposed to?
Yeah.
That might be an area to look at.
And that's why, if you want me to do that research, I will. I'm looking for direction from this board on how,
I don't
on where
think
you
it,
want me to go.
everybody give me your opinion, and I'm gonna cut everybody off in the audience for now. And we'll open it up at the end, for public participation on agenda items. But, because we just need to get some direction on our end, so we can figure out what to do. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense, and please nod your head yes or no, to go very specific with decibels and times and that kind of thing, because I think it's unenforceable anyway. Is everybody kind of in agreement with that, and trying to keep it a little bit more general, but trying to narrow down trying to narrow down more than what we have on what a long time means, or are we happy with the wording of a long time and excessive noises, understanding the repercussions, could be additional call outs to police and additional expense to the town for, what you and I may not consider a noise problem, but somebody else does. So I saw everybody's head shake no when we were talking about decibels and stuff.
Just, in my opinion, is we could spend a lot of time on this and get very specific, then going back to like the industrial, oh crap, we didn't think of that.
Yeah.
And then, you're gonna end up looking like, why didn't you think of that? So, I mean, I think we need to spend more time narrowing down what we should do. Because I don't like agreeing to things and pointing out later, oh crap, we didn't think of that.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
And especially with the redevelopment of Vermont Yankee, we don't know what's gonna go in there, and we don't want to restrict what can go in there based on a noise ordinance. And obviously, we're not looking for, jackhammers running at Vermont Yankees property 24/7. That's not the kind of redevelopment that we're looking for, but, there are some, things that have to be considered in that. So, long story short, is we're gonna keep it generalized, similar to what we are now. And we are not gonna give you any further direction than changing it from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the moment. We're all gonna come back to our next meeting after we've, looked at this, now hearing additional concerns from, townspeople. And actually, you know what? Hold on. How many sections are of this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 11.
11. No,
So,
really,
Um,
really 6.
6. You start at basically 3,
Yeah.
and 3, 4, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Is that what you're seeing, Ms. Shaw? Of sections that are, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
8, 9, and 10, maybe just 10. Not
Just
take
10.
out 8 and 9. To be review, you mean?
Yes.
Take out 8 and 9, those are pretty standard.
Okay, so, Jeff, will you take sections 3 and sections 6? We're just gonna break this down and bring it back with our thoughts. So that way we can have
To
some
me?
concentration on it, yes, to you. I will take 4 and 7, because I like the name penalties. And Jean, will you look at section 10 for us? Please. And actually, if you want to look over the exemptions as well, and I know those are kind of standard, but
Actually, I
There are
just pulled
some-
those out of other laws from other towns.
there might be some
You can
ideas that you may have in there.
think of- If anybody can think of more exemptions, that would be helpful too.
Yeah, and that's, so Jeff, 3 and 6, me 4 and 7, and Jean 5 and 10. Chris, why don't you and I work on the daytime noise one, because that seems to be the one that's gonna need the most thinking. So there's 2 of us on that. And please do your homework. I know everybody's got a life and everybody's super busy, and bring us back some good ideas of what we can do with the sections that we assigned tonight. Okay? Anybody questions? That makes sense how we're doing it?
Hold on.
Just give us 1 second.
It being shot down at town meeting.
Yeah, it probably will be, but
And if they won't do a, junk ordinance, then
it's our work to do, just like the junk ordinance was our work to do, and then the town decides from there. So
thank you very
public,
much, people.
you're welcome. Public participation, agenda items only. Steve?
Yes, I hate to jump back to this, but I'm going to make a plunge.
Sure.
I feel very strongly that one of the things that you need to do with this noise ordinance before you do anything else is try to solicit opinion from townspeople and actually involve them in the process of trying to figure out what those sections should read, especially in the area of the controversial ones.
Sure.
Because if you don't have that front end input, then you're sitting at town meeting and either they don't understand what you're doing, or they don't support it because they like to make noise, And the ones that are complaining about the noise don't even realize that it's being dealt with. So I think like getting people like the gentleman that sat next to me, Mr. Castine, who has a problem with dogs, but I'll bet you he'd have also a problem if someone set up a shooting gallery and, a firing range, not a shooting gallery, a firing range in his neighbor's backyard. He'd probably have that problem too. I think especially people who are living in developments here in town, and you got to remember, when I was growing up here in town, there were no developments. You know, there were a few houses close to one another, but there was no Fox Hill, there was no Homestead Way, there was no Vernon Village, there was no wherever else they are, Dunkley Drive, you know, it just goes on and on. Now we've got all these places, but we're still doing things the same old way. I think really you need to solicit, get people involved in the grassroots end of it before you even try to put pencil to paper. Would be my belief.
I think we need to understand what we believe first, and I don't think that we have even a consensus in that. And then we'll bring it to the town. I agree with you in that
If
respect.
you find no interest, other than maybe 2 or 3 people in having any kind of control, I wouldn't even spend any more time on it. But if you have people from every neighborhood complaining and wanting to do something, well, I think then you've got somebody you've got a group of people who are really interested in having a quieter life. And we want to. My goal is to make Vernon a place people want to live, not the place that people want to leave.
Sure, I understand. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Correspondence and town admin report, please.
Okay, you have all of the correspondence that we've received. You do have in front of you, and as far as the town administrator's report, I don't have much. I do want to let everybody know that we are having some work done on our septic system. We had the pump alarm go off, and the repair people have concluded it's actually the panel. So thank goodness, because we had the pumps replaced, if you recall, last fall, and over the winter. Those are working fine, but the panel in the lower level of the town office is not kicking on the pumps when it needs to. So that's why the town employees have been manually hitting the pump whenever the alarm goes off. And I'd also like to thank the select board members that have stopped in on their time off on the way through. Anybody, we are still waiting for, they've ordered the panel, thanks to you all agreeing to it, but it's not in yet. So if you're passing by on a weekend and you know the town office is closed, please feel free to open the door. And if you see a red light going on, that means that the alarm is going off and we need to pump it manually.
Is everybody aware where that panel is? So as you're walking out towards the police department, past the post room through the double doors, it's right on the left, on the wall.
And before you leave, I'll show you how to operate the pump. And then you just wait till the alarm goes off. Doesn't it? It's sweet. But, with a little cooperation, we'll make sure to get through this without having any flooding down here.
Yes,
right?
that would be good.
That's the nice part.
Every day.
So, I also, in that whole process, we did go over how, to call in some crisis situations, and I want to give a kudos out to Cindy. She was in here at 6:30 in the morning and did hear the alarm going off and took the steps to call somebody to come in here right away to fix it. When my phone rings at 6:30, I always get nervous, but she was really on it and had it all the pieces moving before I even got in here. So a big thank you to Cindy to getting that going. Also, there is, it's on your schedule, the public hearing for the town plan discussions on the 29th. So please take a moment to review that town plan. If you can't make it to that meeting, if you can just let me know what your comments are, I'll be sure to forward that along to the Planning Commission. And lastly, the Planning Commission has decided to apply for funding through the 2019 Municipal Planning Grant to start planning for potential development of the Vermont Yankee site after that's all done being decommissioned. So I will be helping them get that grant written. Right, and that's it for my report.
Okay, upcoming meetings, public hearing, town plan, and we just mentioned August 29th. The next regular select board meeting is September 4th. Vermont Emergency Preparedness Training, Lake Maury's 7th and 8th of September. Municipal Budget and Borrowing Workshop, September 11th. Leadership Summit, October 1st. Don't forget to throw out a nomination for somebody for a free ticket there, if you have one. And then the town fair, which is October 3rd and 4th in Burlington. We are adjourned.
So here's the ones
Should
that
I
was kind of-
add the budget
These
meeting
two, we probably get a lot of look at.
to after the regular meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the time, so,